corrupt, jumla jivi, hypocrisy. Unparliamentary war erupts. Parliament censors Stokes debate. Opposition calls it a gag order. New dictionary for New India.
Viewer, we're going to have a very, very unparliamentary 5 Live today. That's a guarantee. But first, as always, the headlines. Bihar police uncover plot to target Prime Minister Modi during his July 12th Patna visit. The module planned to make India an Islamic nation by 2047. 2 arrested, PF5 pamphlets recovered. After Pythagoras Rao explosive midday meal Nataka in Karnataka, education panel proposes to ban eggs and meat in children's midday meals, citing obesity and other health issues. Huge backlash. Torrential rain triggers deluge, destruction and death. Situation remains grim in Telangana, Kerala and Gujarat. India Today on the ground in every affected site, getting you live coverage. Sri Lankan fury and frustration on the streets. Military asks for political resolution. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa has fled from Maldives to Singapore. Next destination will be in the Middle East or the Gulf. Amidst chorus to drop Virat Kohli, the BCCI has not included the former Indian captain in India's T20 squad for the West Indies. Full special report on this at 5:30. Presenting to you today, so you're forgiven if you think I'm batshit crazy or that this is some betrayal. You're probably thinking, where's the usual bossy pants who presents 5 Live with his usual bullshit? Some of you like calling me a chamcha, but I think of this as Bal Buddhi. I am not some chokra who is a chela of anybody. You may think journalists like me are cockroaches sometimes, but I'm definitely not a coward. I'm definitely not corrupt. Some of my shows may seem like a disgrace to you, but I won't be crying any crocodile tears. I'm not a donkey doing the usual TV drama, and this is no eyewash because I know that you, the viewer, is not a fool. Over the years, I've shown you how I'm no fraud, so I'm not gaslighting you here. We all like getting a little grubby in our jobs. We're all gossipers at some level, right? I may sometimes look like one, but I promise you I'm not a gunda. What I like doing is calling out hypocrisy, hogwash and hooliganism. I may have a lack of maturity in some eyes, but I have no interest in lollipops, I promise. I have no mamas in this industry and I have no mafia backing me. It's supposed to be my job to bash misinformation, but I'm often distracted by penguins and my pet dogs. I'm supposed to be a poster boy of this channel, but I'm often called a poodle, pig-headed or phony, sometimes even a prostitute, but that's rubbish. As you know, I may be a rascal sometimes, but I'm ruthless when it comes to scoundrels and sexual harassment. I'm here to bust traitors and snoopgates, but if you think these are the words of a windbag, then I must warn you that the worst is yet to come. Now, viewer, this whole thing that I've just said, if I said it in Parliament, it would be massively frowned upon and there would be no record of it on paper because I've just used most of the words that the latest advisory from Parliament says are unparliamentary. I seriously am not making this up. Watch this report.
The cut and thrust of legislative business. From national parliament to state assemblies. Words too strong for the temple of democracy, often taken off the records in Westminster tradition. But additions to the unparliamentary expressions ahead of the monsoon session in the 44-page manual issued by the Lok Sabha Secretariat has triggered a hot debate. Here's a quick look at some of the nouns, adjectives and verbs that have made it to the proscribed list for lawmakers. The no-nos include Jumla Jivi, Jaychand, dictatorial, incompetent, COVID spreader, Tanasha, Danga, Khoon se kheti, Khalistani, Shakuni, Snoopgate, and even corrupt, sexual harassment and lies. Ashamed, drama, betrayed and abused are also deemed unparliamentary. The selection drawn from the expressions expunged in the Lok Sabha, the Rajya Sabha and the state assemblies in 2021, and apart from those disallowed in legislatures of several other Commonwealth countries.
But he has not known the difference between the street words and the parliament words. देखिए तटिया और नारेबाजी करना कतई उचित नहीं है.
The scope of expunging expressions from the flora of speeches in the legislature stands widened with the new list. And that's something which has sparked sharp reactions from opposition leaders, who accuse the central government of attempts to silence critics in the House.
अगर मैं कहूंगा कल पार्लियामेंट बहस होगी बेरोजगारी के ऊपर, मैं कहूंगा कि मैं मोदी सरकार पर फूल बरसाकर मारूंगा क्योंकि उन्होंने नौजवानों को बेरोजगार बना दिया, तो क्या फूल को अनपार्लियामेंट्री कर देंगे? समझिए इंपॉर्टेंट क्या है कि रूल्स एंड प्रोसीजर को आप इंप्रूव करिए, कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल वैल्यूज, कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल मोरालिटी को करिए.
जब करप्शन की बात आती तो क्या करप्शन बोलने का छोड़ के कुछ और बोलते थे? आपके ये जुमले हैं उन्होंने कहते थे, क्या उससे छोड़ के और कोई बात उन्होंने कही है? तो जब खुद वो कहते हुए आए हैं, आज उनको क्यों लग रहा है कि वो शब्द ठीक नहीं है?
If you only want the government to be prized by the opposition parties, that is very difficult. And if you take all the words which is going to be critical of the government as unparliamentary, which will not be in the good sense of the parliamentary democracy itself.
एक भी माननीय सदस्य ने क्रॉस बॉर्डर किया, चाहे इधर के हो चाहे इधर के हो, मैं इमीडिएटली पूरे सत्र के लिए निलंबित कर दूंगा.
The ruling BJP rejected the accusations and described the move as part of a routine exercise.
जो लोग सदन में बैठकर सिर्फ अमर्यादित भाषा के आधार पर समाचार पत्र की सुर्खियों में रहना चाहते हैं, जिनकी कोई रुचि देश के विकास के कार्यों में हाथ बटाने की या रचनात्मक बहस को आगे बढ़ाने की नहीं है, वे ही इससे प्रताड़ित महसूस कर रहे हैं.
A language expert, Professor Pawan Agarwal, however, emphasized that the words and their interpretation should stay context dependent. The spirit matters more than just the letter.
अब ये जयचंद और शकुनी ये वास्तव में अमर्यादित शब्द नहीं है. एक अमर्यादित आचरण करने वाले व्यक्ति के अलग अलग उसके जो दुर्गुण हैं उसको गिनाने की अपेक्षा वह एक शब्द में उस व्यक्ति के पूरे व्यक्तित्व को बांध देते हैं. तो मुझे लगता है कि इस तरह के शब्दों पर बैन नहीं लगना चाहिए था.
For now, though, it's a new flashpoint outside Parliament over which language pushes the boundaries and which constitutes a fair comment, holding the power to account. With Mausami Singh and Supriya Bharadwaj in Delhi, Bureau Report, India Today.
But he has not known the difference between the street words and the parliament words.
You know, honestly, I'm just wondering, what's life without words like Jumla Jivi and Nautanki and Tanashahi and Shakuni, which are, you know, among the many words that have been advised against and designated as unparliamentary. So if any MP uses these words, they will not go on the record. Take a look at what Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla has said in defense of this advisory.
कि संसद में मर्यादा से चर्चा हो, गंभीरता से चर्चा हो, आरोप प्रत्यारोप लोग हो तो तथ्यों से हो. ये हमने सभी माननीय सदस्यों ने नियम प्रक्रिया बनाई सदन चलाने के लिए. लेकिन संविधान से बड़ा तो कुछ नहीं हो सकता. संविधान में बोलने की अभिव्यक्ति उसको कौन रख सकता है? आप कह रहे हैं बैन कर दिया, प्रतिबंधित कर दिया. ये बैन प्रतिबंध कभी नहीं हो सकते. ये तो एक नियमित प्रक्रिया है।
So you're probably wondering, they've got this big advisory on all these words that cannot be used. The government has clarified also, through sources that this is not a ban, this is an advisory, and there are parliaments across the world that pull in all these words which are advised against. Basically, if you use these words, they will not go on the record. So there is an impact if you use these words in parliament. Let's just detail for you what action can be taken if a member of parliament uses any of these words, Nautanki, Tanashahi, Shakuni, Snoopgate, and all the other words that I used in my opening. No legal action against the MP who uses those words, so that's out of the question. The MP will not be liable for any proceedings in court, so no legal action of any kind. They won't be in actual legal trouble, but the words uttered in those statements will not go into the parliament records, which basically means there will be no record of those words being used. They will be expunged from the official record of parliament proceedings and cannot be, very importantly, the media cannot report what has been said. It cannot be reproduced or reported by any media. So, assuming I am a member of parliament and I say Nautanki or Tanashahi in parliament, that cannot be reported by any other media. I want to, make sense of this because this is such an incredible story. Because I, for one, am wondering, why Parliament should have a thin skin. There's this whole facade of Maryada and the whole, idea of things being parliamentary and unparliamentary. When my take is usually that, it's parliament. It's full of people who are from the same society as us. They should be free to use the words that they want to, but there is a sense of decorum and tradition and, how certain things should not be said. Obviously, it's triggered a huge political, firestorm over this being a gag order rather than, a generic kind of advisory that is issued every year. Shamsher Singh and our National Affairs editor, Rahul Srivastava, are going to be with us. Both of them are, political animals who've spent many hours of their careers inside Parliament. Shamsher, I'm kind of laughing at this a little bit. What's your take on this? I know you and I both don't like the word unparliamentary very much. We see so much of it play out in front of our eyes. You've seen it firsthand in Parliament as well. What do you make of this? No Nautanki, no Tanashahi. What's the fun, Shamsher?
No shedding crocodile tears, Shiv, over the list, because even saying that you're shedding crocodile tears is not parliamentary, okay? So that is the level of gag that is present in this compilation of expressions. And, we've often heard this term, ulta chor kotwal ko date. Now, even that is not allowed in the parliament. So where, the parliament is a place where oratory skills are tested, and it's a mastery of juggling of words. This time round, when the list is out, many opposition MPs are saying that they are trying to serve through their dictionaries to add new words to their vocabulary as far as attacking the government is concerned. But on the other side, Shiv, this is in fact given the opposition fresh ammunition. Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary, I just spoke to him about a few minutes ago before we did this live, and he said that he has spoken to the speaker and asked him to call a meeting of the rules committee because they are entitled to in fact outline what is parliamentary and not parliamentary.
It's incredible, and Rahul's going to be with us in a moment, but Shamsher, for members of parliament who who employ these words quite liberally, things like, Tanashahi and Nautanki and all these things. We've heard these words in Parliament. They don't face any legal action, but the fact that it doesn't go on the record and cannot be reported is a real issue. That means that, it's not going to be there. It's not going to have any echo beyond Parliament, basically.
Absolutely, Shiv, and what is more worrisome are the use of words like presence of words like corrupt, presence of words in Hindi like sexual harassment, presence of words like kala bazari. All these words are also mentioned in the list. So perhaps the government sources tell us that this is not like, it's not even a suggestion, it's just a mere compilation. But, much is being read between the lines because, the COVID protocols are still on in the parliament. We just heard media has already been put on the outer periphery of the parliament, and despite the COVID protocols relaxing everywhere, the booster shots everywhere, and we don't see much of COVID protocols followed in government functions as well. We are still under the COVID protocol rule where the fourth pillar of democracy is concerned. So this is worrisome, and let me tell you, on the first day of the session, there's going to be a lot of pandemonium over this. One opposition leader was saying that maybe this is a way the government wants to divert and deviate from the key issues. But the question really is that why would opposition, fall into the bait that the government is giving?
You know, because the government has come out and sort of, not officially, but put the word out there, Rahul, welcoming you onto the show, saying that, this is not a ban, this is an advisory that's issued, from time to time. It pulls in words and instances that have been used in other, the parliaments of other Commonwealth nations as well. But, it's a new world, isn't it, Rahul? I mean, does this kind of advisory really fit in with this this new 2022 world that we live in? Because the general sense is, these are hardly sensitive words. I can understand some of them, rubbing people the wrong way, but this is Parliament after all. I mean, shouldn't there be free discussion?
See, Shiv, for the first point, this is not actually a rule book.
Yeah.
This is actually a compilation, as you said it. The point is, what is objectionable, what is the core of the objection is the rule of Parliament. One, there is an article 1052 of Indian Constitution that no MP, what he says on the floor of the House can be held guilty even in courts. Now, that's the kind of protection a member of Parliament enjoys. Do the MPs object to that? No, they don't. They love that independence. But on the other hand, when Rule 380 of the Rules and Procedures and Conduct of Parliament, Lok Sabha and Raj Sabha, tells them that they need to watch their tongue, then they have very serious objections. Now, what does Rule 380 of expunction, which is practiced since 1954, Shiv, 1954, does it say? It says that the Speaker and the Raj Sabha Chairman have a right vested with power to order expunction. Now, what are the rules for expunction? Anything which is prejudicial to national interest, to the maintenance of friendly ties with foreign countries, derogatory to high offices, foreign dignitaries, impact on national sentiment, discrediting and forming the army, navy, or anybody, not good in taste. Now, this not good in taste is the real objection. Now, if we talk about what is the brouhaha today, Shiv, the problem is that each regime is guilty of bringing out this, adding words to this long list of suggestions that don't use them, because of the context they are used in. That's what the Speaker has said today. You see, if I say that the government is, or the Prime Minister is indulging in hypocrisy, I'm not saying it, but if I'm using as example, then it is a problem. But if I say on the floor of the House that the Chinese have indulged in hypocritical diplomacy, then it is not objectionable. The point here is that if we say today, Tanashah, which is dictator, it is an objection. Jumlebazi is an objection, a word which has been added. I think this is contemporary times. What politicians are saying outside, it's basically being reflected in this list. Because why I say that, in the Congress time when the UPA was being hurt by those multiple scams, CWG, 2G and others, then on 17th August 2011, dishonest was expunged. Is dishonest so objectionable? On March 3rd, 2011 in Lok Sabha, dishonesty was put as an unparliamentary word. On March 12th, 2012, shame was put in. Now, shame on you or shame on anybody. Is it an unparliamentary word? Then cheating in Raj Sabha on March 20, 2012.
Wow.
Now, why is it happened? Because the context at that time was that the UPA was facing charges from the opposition for all the scams. So cheating, dishonesty, shame, all this was added. Now the BJP is facing charges of Tanashahi and similar ones. So these have been added. I think the problem is that these are regime-specific charges which are created and unparliamentary words get added. only because of the tone and tenor of politics outside Parliament.
It just strikes me as everyone having a really thin skin. Of course, you know, politics has its place, but I don't know. From where I come from, I dislike the word unparliamentary. I think unparliamentary things should be allowed to be said and go on the record, for God's sake, in Parliament. This is Parliament of the people. It's not another planet or another existence. I mean, maybe we'll achieve that someday. But thanks very much, Mausami and Rahul, for putting that into perspective for us. It's easy for me to say all this stuff over here. Mausami and Rahul are the people who are actually in Parliament, seeing all this unparliamentary stuff being said and then not going on the record. So best of luck for that upcoming session. Rahul and Mausami, we'll be keeping track of it very, very closely. We've got some breaking news coming in. Okay, we've got some news just dropping right now. The Patiala District Court in Punjab has upheld the conviction of iconic Punjabi singer Daler Mehndi in an old illegal immigration racket case dating back 20 years to 2003. The Patiala Additional Sessions Judge H.S. Grewal has ordered the immediate arrest of singer Daler Mehndi. This is an illegal immigration case that dates back to 2003. You probably have heard of it. It was one of the controversies Daler Mehndi had been embroiled in. He had faced arrest in the past as well. And now an additional sessions judge has ordered his immediate arrest. In fact, we can confirm to you that Daler Mehndi has been arrested. He has been arrested. We'll have a live reporter on this in just 30 seconds from now. First to confirm here on India Today that Daler Mehndi has been arrested. We're going to get some more information on his location, whereabouts and where he's been picked up from. But here's the big breaking news right now. Daler Mehndi has just been arrested, and those are pictures of his arrest. First, an exclusive here on India Today. Manjeet Sehgal joining us live. Manjeet, where was Daler Mehndi arrested from? Give us the latest.
Well, Shiv, Daler Mehndi was present in the court. He had moved a bail petition today, but the court upheld the 2018 judgment in which Daler Mehndi and his brother Shamsher Singh were held guilty of kabutarbaji. He was sentenced to 2 years, but later he was bailed out. Daler Mehndi had pleaded guilty and had appealed before the court that he was innocent. He had also cited the two discharge petitions moved by the Punjab police in 2006, saying he was not required in the case and he was innocent. But the court had said that he requires prosecution, and the court had sufficient evidences to prove that he was involved in this racket. It was in 2018 when he was sentenced. Then he had moved a petition, and this judgment comes after a gap of 19 years, Shiv, when Daler Mehndi has been found guilty, and the court said he was guilty. All we know is this: Daler Mehndi had taken 2 troops to US in 1999 and 1998, in which 10 people were allegedly dropped illegally in US. First troop was accompanied by Babita, the senior actress, and Karishma Kapoor. During the second trip, 2 other heroines, including Juhi Chawla, were also present with him. So this was the case, and on the basis of a complaint in 2003, some people had approached the police and had leveled serious allegations against Daler Mehndi that they were charged a passage money from them, but they were not sent to the US as per the promise. Right. So Daler Mehndi has finally been found guilty and has been taken into custody, has been taken to the hospital for a medical.
Thanks very much, Manjeet Sehgal, giving us that information that Daler Mehndi has been arrested now. We'll keep a very close track of that story. Iconic Punjabi singer, 20-year-old case. He's just been arrested by the police in that illegal immigration racket case. And we've got some breaking news coming in now. This is going to spark another big political fight. The Patna Senior Superintendent of Police has drawn a very, very problematic parallel between the Popular Front of India and the Rashtriya Swayam Sevak Sangh. He has compared the RSS with the PFI. The Patna SSP says PFI is like an RSS Shakha. Now the BJP, which has for a long time been mulling the banning of the Popular Front of India for its radical complexion, has demanded the SSP's removal for speaking like what they say is a PFI spokesperson. The PFI, remember, is an Islamist organization that has been linked to many extreme incidents in the country, including the hijab protests in Karnataka and several other uprisings in the wake of Nupur Sharma's comment in the country as well, including rioting in different parts of the country. And now a senior police officer in Patna has compared the Popular Front of India with the RSS, and that hasn't, as you can imagine, gone down well with the BJP, who's called for this policeman's immediate removal. Here's what he said.
10 जून वाला आप बता रहे हैं, उसका जो अभी इन वाली कमिटीज़ के साथ डायरेक्टली नहीं था, लेकिन उस वक्त भी जो पोस्टर्स और पैम्फलेट्स हुए थे, तो हम लोग दोनों जो एफआईआर्स प्रतिवेदित हुए इस पर लिंक निकालने का प्रयास कर रहे हैं कि उसमें जो हमारा अनुसंधान के क्रम में जिन जिन लोगों का हम लोग पहुँचे हैं, क्या वो पीएफआई या एसडीपीआई के एक्टिव कार्यकर्ता थे कि नहीं है, तो उसका भी हम लोग लिंक निकालेंगे इस कांड के अनुसार।
ऐसे संस्था के बारे में उनका ऐसा वक्तव्य है, ये अपना इंटेलिजेंस जो फेल हुआ है उसको छिपाने के लिए इस तरह का वक्तव्य दे रहे हैं, यह बहुत ही दुर्भाग्यपूर्ण है। मैं इसका घोर निंदा करता हूं। ऐसे व्यक्ति को पटना का एसएसपी बनने का जरूरत नहीं है। मैं सरकार से मांग करता हूं कि ऐसे एसएसपी को पटना के एसएसपी से हटाया जाए और सरकार को चाहिए कि ऐसे व्यक्ति को रोका जाए।
Want to go across to India today is Rohit Singh for more on this. Rohit, the BJP has made a big issue out of this RSS PFI comparison. What do you think is going to happen? Will the government be acting, or is this going to just blow over as another one of those political flare-ups?
Well, Shiv, this is definitely that this is going to blow up, because the kind of comment which the Patna SSP Manavjit Singh Dhillon has made is completely unwarranted, and what I guess is that he did not have really the business of making that kind of a comment, because his police is investigating the matter, and the kind of comment he has made where he has compared the RSS, the PFI with the RSS, and he said that like the manner in which in RSS Shakhas physical training is imparted and also weapon training is imparted. Similar kind of being imparted to training was being imparted in that in Ahmed's Palace. That is the place where several youths from various parts of the countries were assembling for the last few days, and which we are calling as the terror school. So this kind of comment is really unwarranted, and the BJP has leave no stone, because they have jumped onto this entire issue. They are now hitting out at the Patna SSP, and they are demanding that he had no business to make that kind of a comment, and they are demanding that the government immediately removes him from the post of SSP. So I think this is going to blow up into a big controversy in the next few hours, I believe, and Nitish Kumar government will be under tremendous pressure from the BJP to see what action they can take against the SSP, because the BJP is not going to leave this issue, because RSS is a very close issue for them, the kind of comment the SSP has made where he has compared the PFI with RSS is completely unwarranted.
Okay, thanks very much, Rohit. So action is likely to be taken, and let's tell you the context in which all of this actually happens. Rohit, we'll come back to you. The Patna police, in the wake of what's happening, the comment you just heard, had busted a terror module in Phulwari Sharif, and 2 persons were arrested from there. One of them is a retired sub-inspector from Jharkhand and has been accused of running a terror module, incriminating documents along with 25 pamphlets of the Popular Front of India, which this police officer has compared with the RSS, were recovered. Here's more in this report, including a possible threat to the Prime Minister that's being claimed.
Chilling Kill Modi plot. A terror module out to target the Prime Minister's July 12 Patna rally. when the Prime Minister was on a brief visit to Bihar. Links to radical Islamist groups like Simi and PFI have emerged. A larger conspiracy unearthed to establish an Islamic India by 2047. Patna police has busted a terror cell and arrested 2 accused. One of them is Mohammad Jalaluddin, a retired sub-inspector of Jharkhand police. The other one is Athar Parvez, brother of a 2013 Patna bomb blast accused, who had then targeted Modi's campaign rally.
मोहम्मद जलालुद्दीन ने बताया है कि वो अतहर परवेज, जिनका हिस्ट्री बहुत ही दागदार रहा है, वो सिमी के एक्टिव मेंबर रहे हैं। पिछले 2 सालों से पीएफआई और एसडीपीआई के आड़ में कॉवर्ट ऑपरेशन कर रहे थे, लोगों को रेडिकलाइज कर रहे थे।
But it was not just Modi who was on target. As per cops, the terrorists were part of a larger plot to change India into an Islamic state, with a 2047 deadline. The objective was to establish Islamic rule in the country and restore the status snatched away by the British when they conquered India and dethroned the Muslim rulers.
उनके विजन में ही टर्की का उल्लेख है कि जो इस्लाम के बियरर्स हैं, फ्लैग बियरर्स हैं, अगर स्टैंड ऑफ की स्थिति आती है स्टेट के साथ तो उसकी मदद लेंगे। तो
2047 तक भारत को इस्लामिक मुल्क बनाने की इनकी मंशा है उस डॉक्यूमेंट के हिसाब से। आपको
मैं ये नहीं कह सकता हूं, बट डॉक्यूमेंट्स जो रिकवर्ड हुआ है उसमें तो यही लिखा है।
This is the PFI flag in large numbers. It has been seized. Apart from that, several incriminating documents here relating to SDPI. You see here, these are documents, incriminating documents relating to SDPI, how SDPI used to help. This is the membership form of SDPI, how you can enroll yourself, become a member of this party, of this organization, rather, Social Democratic Party of India. And all this clearly goes on to show that the suspected terrorists were planning something really big, and Prime Minister's Patna visit was on the radar.
The conspirators plan to enlist support of India's 10% Muslim population and Islamic countries like Turkey to achieve their sinister objective.
इनके जो भी ऑफिस बियरर्स हैं और जो भी इनके मेंबर्स थे, क्योंकि उनकी हम लोगों को सूचना प्राप्त हुई है, हम लोगों को डॉक्यूमेंट्स मिले हैं कि कमेटी में कौन कौन था, और उनमें से बहुत से लोग नामजद भी हुए हैं, और उनके हम लोग बैंक अकाउंट्स और जितने भी उनके फाइनेंशियल ट्रांजैक्शंस हुई हैं कम से कम पिछले 1 साल में, उसकी हम लोग जांच करवाएंगे।
As per cops, the accused also did a dress rehearsal, training for 15 days to practice the attack on Modi's rally. The accused say they were merely running an NGO. The cops, however, have unearthed terror funding to the tune of 83 lakh rupees, and ample proof that youth from Kerala, Bengal, UP, Tamil Nadu and many other states were coming to get terror training with the accused.
More searches, more raids are being carried out. The police, the Patna police is also contacting several other state police from where what we have learned that several youth from in those states were also coming to this training center in Patna. So massive terror module has been busted by the Patna police, and investigations have in this case have just begun, and more arrests are likely to take place in next few days. With camera person Nadeem Alam, this is Rohit Singh in Patna for India Today.
And coming up after this very short break, India's Virat problem. Is it really a problem? What's going on? What's eating Virat Kohli? We're going to ask the questions, get you a perspective right after this break. Stay with us.
Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices. Amplify your brand with 100 million smart internet viewers. To advertise, mail us at sales@aajtak.com or call 9999892171.
magnificent Mercury is cratered with marks and bruises. The planet was never seen this closely before. A European-Japanese spacecraft, Bepi Colombo, has recently captured images of Mercury for at least 40 minutes from a distance of 800 kilometers. Although the spacecraft went as close as 200 kilometers above planet's surface, key instruments remained shut. This is the second approach made by the spacecraft so far. The spacecraft recorded the transition from the night side to the day side. A breathtaking view of the cratered surface of the planet was captured. This highlighted the boundary between night and day. In fact, the rough terrain was also recorded. All in all, mysterious Mercury's magnetic field, exosphere, core and the surface processes were grabbed in the camera. A few days ago, human trash was recorded on Mars. Later, it was contemplated it might just be the spacecraft trash.
You are watching India Today.
Does India have a Virat problem? That's on every cricket lover's mind right now. BCCI chief Saurav Ganguly has broken his silence on Virat Kohli's poor form. The chief of the BCCI has backed Virat Kohli and said Virat has got ability and quality. He says that he sees Kohli coming back to form and doing well for the Indian team. He's been under a cloud for a while now. Well, this is after cricket veterans have openly voiced their concerns, including here on India Today, and have urged the management to drop Virat Kohli from the team. Here is the full story in case you missed it.
And now down the wicket, but he's held it. What a catch!
The T20 squad for the series against West Indies is out. If one thought that Virat Kohli will make use of this opportunity in the 5-match series, the news is that the former India skipper has chosen to skip the series. Runs have not been coming and Virat Kohli has decided to take rest. Form and runs have deserted Virat Kohli and now he has started to lose support too.
I can tell you that.
While many have been gunning for his head, the unexpected support he has received is from the BCCI president Saurav Ganguly.
Look at the numbers he's got in international cricket. That doesn't happen without ability and quality. Yes, he's had a tough time and he knows that. He's been a great player himself, so he knows himself by his own standards it has not been good, and I see him coming back and doing well. But he's got to find a way which makes him successful, as he has been for the last 12-13 years or maybe even more, and only Virat Kohli can do that.
It's been 77 international innings since Virat scored his last century, which came way back in November 2019. But the problem is not just with the centuries, but the runs that have dried up considerably across formats. And also the strike rate at which those runs have been coming, especially in the shorter formats. Now with the T20 World Cup just 3 months away, there is a school of thought that insists that Virat doesn't merit a place in the T20 side. The numbers though paint a different picture, at least in T20 internationals. Since 2021, Virat has played 8 innings in T20Is with an average of over 47 and a modest strike rate of 130.7. But in the 2 IPL seasons in that period, his 29 innings have fetched just 746 runs at an average of 25.72 and a strike rate of 117.7. His numbers in tests and ODIs though are worse and nothing compared to what they were before 2020. Former India skipper Kapil Dev was one of those who think that Virat Kohli doesn't deserve a place in the Indian team. He said, and I quote, "If world number 2 test bowler Ashwin can be dropped from test side, then your number 1 batter can also be dropped. If he isn't performing, you can't continue to keep the youngsters out." Kapil Dev's viewpoint was also endorsed by former India pacer Venkatesh Prasad, who, without taking Virat's name, said in his tweet, "The yardsticks seem to have changed drastically now, where there is rest for being out of form. This is no way for progress. There is so much talent in the country and cannot play on reputation. One of India's greatest match winners, Anil Kumble, sat out on so many occasions, need actions for the larger good. However, these are voices coming from outside the dressing room. What does the team management think of the current situation with regards to Virat Kohli?
ये एक्सपर्ट लोग मुझे पता नहीं कौन है, एक्सपर्ट क्यों बोला जाता है उनको, मुझे वो नहीं समझ में आता नहीं। देखिए वो बाहर से गेम देख रहे हैं, उनको पता नहीं अंदर क्या चल रहा है। ये हम हमेशा हमें ध्यान में रखना चाहिए। जब आप ऐसे कमेंट्स बाहर निकलते हैं तो ये चीज ध्यान में रखना चाहिए कि प्लेयर का क्वालिटी कभी खराब नहीं होता, तो उस क्वालिटी को बैक किया जाता है क्योंकि प्लेयर के पास क्वालिटी है और हम वो क्वालिटी देख के प्लेयर को बैक करते हैं। और ये मेरे साथ हुआ है, XYZ के साथ हुआ है, सबके साथ हुआ है, तो उसमें कोई नई बात नहीं है।
For a man who could do nothing wrong on the cricket field just a few years ago, Virat's place in the Indian team has become the biggest talking point now. Surely for what he has achieved for Indian cricket, Virat deserves a long rope. But the question is, when will that rope and patience end? Sports Bureau, India Today.
And I want to talk about this for a moment. I'm joined by Vikrant Gupta and Nikhil Naz from our award-winning Sports Bureau. They've been looking at this whole Virat problem very, very closely, and it's still unfolding. Remember, it's not a static story. It's constantly moving. Vikrant, what are you making of this? You know, has the axe kind of fallen on a Virat Kohli whose form has been depleting visibly over the months?
He hasn't been rested. He's not been dropped. He's decided to rest himself.
Yeah.
I think that's how I would put it. The BCCI or the selectors didn't want to rest him. They didn't want to drop him either. But what he's done is that he's decided to take rest. And I'm told that the selectors, the team management tried to convince him into playing in the West Indies T20s. He had a niggle, but he's playing the ODI today, which means that the niggle was just for a day, which means that fitness is not an issue. But I think maybe Virat admits now that he needs mental rest. He admits now that for all the shortcomings in his batting technique, they are just a temporary phase. If he's mentally fit, if he's eager, he'll perform. But I think the team management has also told him the true picture. They've given him the true picture. Now that you're not going to the West Indies and that you've decided to come back in the Asia Cup just before the World Cup, things may not be entirely in your own hands. This selection for the World Cup, that is.
Rested or dropped, Nikhil, how are you seeing this?
Well, he's asked for rest. That's confirmed. But I think what Saurav Ganguly said today, Shiv, and I think that is the first time there has been an admission on the part of the BCCI that yes, his form is a concern. Up until now, it was this one big elephant in the room that no one spoke about. It was only at the periphery. People were talking whether he deserves to be in the team or not. For the very first time, the BCCI president, if you read the entire statement, has come out and said that yes, there is a problem with his form. And the other important bit is where he says he needs to find a way of how to get back into form. Now, there are two schools of thought as to which is the best way for him to get back to form. Some suggest, as we pointed out in that package earlier, that maybe he needs to play a lot of cricket. But there are those as well. There are a lot of former cricketers that believe maybe he's overcooked, maybe he needs some time off. And I think that decision has been taken by Virat that he needs some time off to get back into form.
And, there's been a lot of, commentary and talk over, the propriety of when certain cricketers choose to take their rest, etc. But Vikrant, if I could draw you in on why in your view is, Virat not being able to score anymore? Because that's the main thing that's on everyone's mind.
Well, it could be the mental strain, Shiv. Go back in time. John Bogg, one of the greatest tennis players of all times, he just decided to go away in his 20s. I remember a former Australian captain, Kim Hughes, a cricketer, he cried off a press conference. He never could be seen again. I mean, in modern day cricket where there's this social media and you're the star, there could be mental strain because T20s is what has magnified Virat's struggle. Yes, for the last 3 years, he's not scored runs in Test cricket. Had it been any other batsman, he would have been dropped. Because you did consider dropping Pujara, you did consider dropping Ajinkya Rahane, but because it is Virat who's got a pedigree, who's got those many runs behind his back, nobody has been able to touch him. But I think in this format, after the Dubai loss, India could have altered their game plan. They decided not to. There are a few youngsters, Nikhil would agree with me, if Deepak Hooda uses the 8 games in West Indies, or if Shreyas Iyer uses the 8 games in West Indies, Dinesh Karthik, Rishabh Pant, Ishan Kishan, what do you do then? That is why I said now, yes, Virat can come back. What's in his control? He can get runs in the Asia Cup, which will not be easy. If you're playing the Asia Cup in Sri Lanka or Bangladesh, those pitches are not good for batting. And that is in his hand. What is a concern for him and what is not in his control is the fact that there could be others, youngsters, pushing for that slot.
Nikhil, you want to add to that?
Oh, yeah, just about why he may not be scoring runs, as, Vikrant pointed out, that yes, there have been some stalwarts in the past who, found it going very tough. Maybe there are mental issues with them. But, there is one reality I think we may have to face up to it. Because of the lofty standards that Virat Kohli set, and I'm only going to quote a few experts. I know experts is a word that the Indian captain doesn't really like, is not very fond of. But I will quote a few experts, former players, who pointed out a few technical issues. So for all you know, he does get runs. For all you know, he gets the run in the ODI that he's going to be playing now. But will you see those same lofty standards that Virat Kohli set for himself? If you were to ask experts, if the people who've been looking at his game, technically, maybe not. He may get runs, but not at that rate that he was getting earlier. And then maybe there would be a call taken by the ones who run the BCCI, whether he fits into all formats. For all you know, he may decide not to continue playing all formats. But yes, I think after the T20 World Cup, a call would be taken because he's not going to be as prolific as we saw the best of Virat a few years ago.
And batting can be very easy, batting can be very difficult. I mean, you watch a batsman, Virat Kohli of old, and any youngster, when you look at him, you would say, oh, the batting appears so easy. Here he's on the front foot, here he is on the back foot. And confidence is, other than the skill that you have, confidence is what defines a cricketer. I think now you watch him play, it is the lack of self-belief.
There's I'm always reminded of this cliche, form is temporary, class is permanent. Does that apply to Virat? I'll ask you first, Vikrant.
It does.
It does?
It applied to Joe Root. He did score runs. Now, every second game he's getting 100. It can happen with Virat, but like Nikhil said, it may not happen at the same pace. It may not happen with the same kind of domination. I think everybody knows that a cricketer would have to leave one format at some stage. Whether or not this is the time or it'll happen after the World Cup, we don't know. But if Virat were to decide picking up 2 formats he should continue playing, should be Test cricket and one-day cricket. And like I said, I think there are times, Shiv, when you overthink. When you're in your prime form, you think about just one ball at a time. I asked Sachin Tendulkar once, Paji, is there any day that you think you'll get runs? Yes. He said, yes, there are days when I wake up and there's a blank slate in front of me, which means there's no questions in my mind. I think Virat has a lot of questions. When he's batting, that self-belief is not there. Maybe he tends to think about his weaknesses more than his strength. The same Virat Kohli who once said, every game that I turn out to play, I think I cannot get out.
Well, let's just hope he gets
That was his strength.
We can call it India's Virat problem, but we're all hoping that he gets his mojo back. That's Virat Kohli. Thanks very much, Nikhil and Vikrant, for joining me on this. It's an unfolding story. Like I said, the experts will continue to react and we will report all of them here on India Today. Vikrant and Nikhil will continue to report on this story. Thanks, guys. And we've got some breaking news coming in now. And here's the latest on Go Gota Gone. The president of Sri Lanka, Gotabaya Rajapaksa's flight is believed to have landed in Singapore now. It took off from Maldives earlier today. It's a Saudi Air flight believed to be carrying the Sri Lankan president. Gotabaya Rajapaksa has just landed in Singapore, and we've got the first images of that aircraft at Singapore's Changi Airport. The Associated Press is reporting, citing a Maldivian government official, that Gotabaya, who is in Singapore now, will now head to Jeddah in Saudi Arabia. And that's why it is a Saudi flight that he has taken. Remember, Gotabaya Rajapaksa is still officially the president of Sri Lanka, and therefore he is regarded as head of state by all of these countries that are welcoming and hosting him at this point of time. He's enjoyed 7-star luxury stay in Maldives. He's taken a VIP flight to Singapore and is likely to take another VIP flight. While his people in Sri Lanka are suffering, the president of Sri Lanka is jet setting to escape from trouble. That's the big story right now. That's his aircraft, apparently in Singapore. Now, a day after President Gotabaya Rajapaksa escaped by air from his country to a luxury 7-star resort in the Maldives, the embattled Sri Lankan president has found refuge in another country, Singapore. This, as his homeland is left burning from economic and political turmoil. Here's more of what he has left behind, because India today is on the ground to see the wake of Gotabaya's exit.
Once the powerful president of Sri Lanka, Gotabaya Rajapaksa is now scurrying for safety, hopping from one island after another. After escaping Lanka in the dead of the night on an Air Force plane and landing in Malé, Gotabaya took to a Saudi Airlines plane to Singapore on Thursday, fleeing Maldivian capital Malé, which hosted him for 2 days. As per Maldives government, the disgraced Lankan president may finally head to Jeddah in Saudi Arabia. Away from the wrath of agitated Lankan citizens on warpath over misrule and economic turmoil. Colombo, meanwhile, remains tense. Military armoured personal carriers were seen patrolling the troubled streets, keeping watch on protesters.
In this location itself, there are 3 tiers of protection. First by Sri Lankan police, the second by Sri Lankan army, and the third one is there, the armored vehicles which are also moving inside. This is also raising a lot of issues with the protesters who are questioning that when there are no fuel for the public, how come these heavy armored vehicles are getting their fuels?
The military choppers which hovered about troubled spots on Wednesday are continuing their low-flying sorties. As per military media, forces have been empowered to enforce law and order to protect people, public property and lives. After another late-night standoff with security forces outside Speaker's house, the protesters relented, agreeing to vacate the Gaul-phase landmarks in fortified Temple Tree area, including the presidential house and office and residence of the Prime Minister. Meanwhile, there is no end to the economic crisis gripping Lanka.
Cooking gas is something really very essential, but because of the supplies worst affected for next month, be it the petrol, be it the diesel or the cooking gas, every day these women are forced to queue in line facing the heat and the humidity. When supply is affected, their kitchen affected, their families affected, and that has forced them to hit the street against the government.
3 people, including a protester, a police official, a military personnel, have been killed in the standoff and 84 others have been injured. Acting President Ranil Wickremesinghe has asked the Speaker to appoint a caretaker Prime Minister who will oversee possible polls. With Ashutosh Mishra and Pramod Madhav in Colombo, Bureau Report, India Today.
And the news never stops here on India Today. Coming up next, Pooja is lining up the hate mongers of Ajmer and unmasking them. Remember, we're the only channel that asked the questions over a series of Khadim saying hateful things, being hypocritical about their claims in the wake of the Nupur Sharma controversy. Here's the latest. Pooja unmasks him on 6 p.m. Prime.
आ गई? कैसा रहा दिन?
बहुत अच्छा।
कोई वीडियो गेम कवर करने गई थी ना?
वीडियो गेम नहीं माँ, e-sports।
E-sports?
माँ, e-sports is just like any other competitive sport. इसमें ना वो सब फीलिंग्स है जो किसी भी और स्पोर्ट्स में है। इसमें इमोशन है, इसमें एंगर है, इसमें सैडनेस है, इसमें हैप्पीनेस है, इसमें कमराडरी है, ये सिर्फ गेम नहीं, ये ई स्पोर्ट्स का प्रीमियर लीग ESPL है।
Everyone's busy finding what's trending. You're busy finding out why. India Today, for those who research before reacting. Download the India Today app now. Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices. Amplify your brand with 100 million smart internet viewers. To advertise, mail us at sales@aajtak.com.
The onset of the monsoon session, the Lok Sabha Secretariat has termed certain words unparliamentary, not to be used on the floor of the House. Words like jumla jivi, danga, corrupt, asatya, even sexual harassment have been termed unparliamentary. It's interesting, viewers, words like sexual harassment termed unparliamentary when every 6.2 minutes a rape is reported in India. India stands quite high in the corruption index where the world is concerned. Yet the word corrupt is considered unparliamentary. Is truth unparliamentary? Is the question we ask on To The Point this evening.
Co-presented by PolicyBazaar.com in association with LIC हर पल आपके साथ, SBI pre-approved personal loan in just 4 clicks, Jio Mart हर घर का मार्ट। The hate mongers of Ajmer unmasked. New provocation by Ajmer Chishti's son.
हनुमान जी, उनका वजूद, उनका एग्जिस्टेंस कैसे साबित करेंगे आप?
Father talks peace, son insults Hindu gods.
प्लीज नुपुर शर्मा मुझे बताएं कि इस 10 अवतार ये क्या लॉजिकल है, ये प्रैक्टिकल है?
Time to stop this hate. Top focus on 6 p.m. Prime.
Good evening and welcome. You're watching 6 p.m. Prime. I'm Pooja Shali. These are religious figures who are supposed to be imparting religious philosophies, and yet one by one voices coming in from the Ajmer Dargah Sharif, which is such a reputed international religious destination. Both Hindus and Muslims offer their prayers today, but these visuals coming in are raising a question about what sort of these khadims there are. Let's begin first with the headlines. Opposition guns for Modi government after words like corrupt, Jumla Jivi banned in the parliament discussions. Government sources counter the opposition, says list is a suggestion, not an order. After Pythagoras controversy, explosive midday meal Nataka in Karnataka, education panels proposing to ban eggs and meat in the meals, citing health issues. Torrential rainfall triggers deluge, destruction and death. Situation remains grim in Telangana, Kerala and Gujarat. Singer Daler Mehndi, arrested after Patiala House Court upholds his conviction in a 2003 illegal immigration racket. Sri Lankan fury and frustration on the streets, military asking for political resolution. Gotabaya Rajapaksa now flees to Singapore. Next destination likely to be Jeddah. Amid chorus to drop Virat Kohli, the BCCI has not included former Indian captain in India's T20 squad for West Indies. Otherwise reputed, respected, regarded in the society, especially among the devotees, both from Hindu and Muslim communities. But Chishtis and Khadims of the Ajmer Dargah, one by one, appear to be spewing venom against the Hindus specifically and their religious beliefs. There is a streak that appears to now have been coming. Take a look at the visuals on your screen. Syed Adil Chishti, he's the son of Sarwar Chishti. Now, in a video that was released and which one by one is now surfacing, he's directly, blatantly mocking Hindu gods, questioning their existence, even ridiculing them, saying none of them appear to be practical in nature. In a controversial remark, Adil Chishti mocked the incarnation of Lord Vishnu, calling it illogical. He then goes on to mock Lord Hanuman, saying it's bizarre that there are incarnation of a god in so many forms and also in the form of animals. Now, the Bharatiya Janata Party and the Vishwa Hindu Parishad on Wednesday condemned the incident, these videos coming in, and are demanding the Rajasthan government to take him into arrest immediately. Just to give you a background, who is this Adil Chishti? The father of this man is Sarwar Chishti, who has defended his son, saying his comments were cherry-picked, taken out of context. And very interestingly, the father is appealing for peace, while the son is for all to hear.
सवाल करना चाहता हूं नुपुर शर्मा से कि 333 करोड़ खुदाओं का एग्जिस्टेंस फिर कैसे माना जाएगा? ये कैसे लॉजिकल है? अकॉर्डिंग टू हिंदू माइथोलॉजी, विष्णु जी के 10 अवतार हैं, 10 अवतार। उनमें से कुछ इनकारनेशन जानवरों वाले हैं और कुछ इनकारनेशन ऐसे हैं जो आधे इंसान और आधे जानवर हैं। तो प्लीज नुपुर शर्मा मुझे बताएं कि इस 10 अवतार ये क्या लॉजिकल है, ये प्रैक्टिकल है? हनुमान जी, उनका वजूद, उनका एग्जिस्टेंस कैसे साबित करेंगे आप? श्री गणेश जी, उनका एग्जिस्टेंस कैसे साबित करेंगे आप?
Mr. Sarwar Chishti, there is a video that has come in public in which your son, Mr. Adil Chishti, is making provocative statements, trying to mock Hindu gods. What do you have to say about that?
He is cherry picking. If you go through video now, the proper video, it's fully of academic excellence, secularism, and that the thing they have picked from that is cherry picking and is out of context. You go through that proper video, then you will come to know. He has replied in literary sense, academically, the questions raised by Nupur Sharma regarding Islam, regarding Buraq, regarding our the Prophet went to Jerusalem to heaven. These were the questions asked by Nupur, and he has given the literary answer to it. And also he has said that those persons who believe in miracles and Almighty can understand this. If you don't believe in miracles and you don't believe in Almighty, then what answer you will give regarding
Mr. Chishti, in that video, your son can be heard mocking or questioning the existence of Hindu gods. He's making statements. You were saying earlier to me that there were statements that were made about Prophet Muhammad. Can you really justify what your son has said about about Hindu gods?
I think is cherry picking. If you go through whole of the content, it's out of context. When you correlate with the whole video, then you will come to know it's full of academic excellence.
Mr. Chishti, your nephew, Gauhar Chishti, is said to be absconding.
The thing is this, George, he's not my real nephew. He's not my real nephew. He's not my real nephew, and we are not on talking terms with him. He's not my real nephew.
So do you distance yourself from?
Yes, 100% distance.
He provoked people to make those sar tan se juda remarks.
We have already condemned. We have already condemned those remarks.
So are you saying that you have nothing to do with Gauhar Chishti?
Nothing. And he's not my real nephew. It's my distant nephew, and we are not on talking.
But he is currently said to be absconding. Will you or did you try to help the police in trying to catch hold of him, sir?
See, let me tell you one thing. We have nothing to do with God.
With this video going viral, and it is a blatant insult and mocking of the Hindu gods and beliefs, we decided to question Adil Chishti. He's, remember, Ajmer dargah cleric's son who has stoked this controversy. This is what Adil Chishti had to say to our questions. Listen in.
Adil, what you've said really does not show of religious tolerance. What you spoke was defamatory. It certainly hurt religious sentiments. Why should there be no arrest against you?
जो यूथ है ना, जो अपना वीडियो बना रहे हैं या सोशल मीडिया पे, चाहे वो ये हजरत हो चाहे दूसरे भी हों, हमें बहुत सोच समझ करके सोशल मीडिया का यूज करना चाहिए. देखिए इस आपके किस वीडियो से क्या कितना नया निकल जाए, क्या इंस्टीट्यूशन, खासतौर से अगर आप किसी इंस्टीट्यूशन से जुड़े हुए हैं.
कोई भी डेरोगेटरी रिमार्क नहीं दिया है किसी रिलीजन के लिए. एज अ मुस्लिम, एज अ प्रैक्टिसिंग मुस्लिम, अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह, मैं ये चीज कभी नहीं कर सकता हूँ. इन द कुरान
आपने तो किया है, आपने तो किया है, हमने
लेट मी स्पीक.
एयर भी किया है.
Can I speak? Ma'am, can I speak?
Yeah, but just speak with context. You're saying you haven't said anything, you have said everything, but now you're trying to backtrack. Unfortunately, there's proof.
देखिए, मेरी वीडियो को पूरे कॉन्टेक्स्ट में देखने की जरूरत है. आपने क्या पूरी वीडियो कॉन्टेक्स्ट में देखी है? Have you watched the video?
I personally have not watched the entire video, but that's besides the point.
Then how can you raise such questions?
Okay. Let me get to the cherry-picked video. You're calling this cherry-picked. Let me get to the cherry-picked video. What authority you have to speak on the Hindu gods like Lord Vishnu and its reincarnation of the number of faces it has? What authority do you have to say what you have said?
It was a rebuttal and intellectual response to Nupur Sharma's allegation.
No, but was Nupur Sharma talking to you? Were you talking to Nupur Sharma? Were you talking to Nupur Sharma? Were you in conversation with Nupur Sharma?
No, it was my
exactly. Who asked? Unwarranted reply. Did anyone ask for your reply? When you are so outraged. No, hang on. No, it's not your responsibility to. You cannot hurt religious sentiments. You cannot hurt religious sentiments. At what cost? You are defying the law. You're trying to respond to Nupur Sharma by defying the law. You are not under the law's ambit. You have hurt religious sentiments. When you see that the environment right now is so filled with hate and communal tensions, you're making a comment that will really clearly hurt the Hindu community. How are you any different? How are you any different from Nupur Sharma at this point?
I have all the right under the Constitution that I can raise.
You have no right to hurt religious sentiments. I'm sorry, sir. You have a flawed image of what the Constitution provides.
It was not my intention. Kindly watch the video. You haven't watched the video and you are asking me such questions.
No. Why don't you tell me what? No, I'm watching the video which is cherry-picked. You're calling it cherry-picked. I'm watching that cherry-picked video, and that very clearly shows how you've defied the law in terms of hurting religious sentiments.
You cannot understand that segment unless you watch the video.
I don't have to watch the whole video. This video is enough context.
No, you have to. How can you raise such questions without knowing anything about me?
This video is... Boss, I have seen 4 lines that you have spoken, and that's very clear at this point.
Just 4 lines. It's a video about 22 minutes.
It's very clear, but that's defamatory. Don't you agree? You're not apologetic about it.
I have made I have apologized to the country.
Oh, what is the point
night.
of an apology?
Even
Adil,
though
now you're
my
apologizing.
intentions were not
Yeah, okay, so
my intentions were not to hurt the sentiments of Indian Hindus.
Okay, just one question.
It was a rebuttal to Nupur Sharma. It was
Just
a logical
one question.
reply.
Just one question.
Sure,
Are you
sure,
outraged
sure.
with what Nupur Sharma said? Are you upset and outraged with what Nupur Sharma said?
Pardon? I can't hear you.
Are you outraged and upset with what Nupur Sharma said about Prophet Muhammad?
Yes, I am.
Don't you think that what you have said will now be outrageous to the Hindu community?
No, not at all, because it was a rebuttal. Again, I am saying it was a rebuttal. It was not merely to hurt the sentiments of Indian Hindus.
The way you're speaking is like a murder for a murder. One person murders the other, you will also go murder in return.
It was a logical interpretation. It was logical interpretation. Have you seen my channel?
No, at this point, when we're looking at sentiments inflamed, it's highly defamatory. And I hope, and since you know that already, you've already apologized, but clearly doesn't seem like it's come with a true intention to apologize. But Adil, thank you very much for joining us and speaking to us.
So now the senior cleric of Ajmer Sharif Dargah, Sarwar Chishti's links with PFI has also meanwhile emerged. This video, which is a year and a half old, has now gone viral. Chishti in this video is backing the radical group PFI, saying PFI has raised issues of Muslim community, added that the reason for supporting this radical Islamist group PFI is that they are, I quote him here, saving the Indian constitution. Days after this video of Sarwar Chishti holding a meeting with the PFI members surfaced, the Dewan of Ajmer has confirmed that Chishti has been holding meetings with PFI members inside the Ajmer Dargah only, confirming though that these meetings are taking place. Not only Sarwar Chishti links with the PFI, now his son Adil Chishti's video that has gone viral, where while he says it's cherry-picked, but it's for all to hear, where he's mocking, questioning Hindu beliefs as well, and as it appears, hurting religious sentiments. Should this be allowed? Should this be okay? Remember right now the threats that were against Nupur Sharma, the beheadings that took place after that.
और ये आस्ताना वो है आले नबी औलादे अली जिगर पोशा रसूल का, आले नबी औलादे अली का, यानी कि बदर हुनैन वालों का, खैबर और खंदक वालों का, करबला वालों का, जहाँ से कि हक की सदा बुलंद हुई है और हिंदुस्तान में गंगा जमनी तहजीब, सांप्रदायिक सौहार्द, कंपोजिट कल्चर, प्लुरलिस्टिक सोसाइटी के नॉर्म्स को यहाँ से एड्रेस किया जाता है। यहाँ तमाम मज़ाहिब के लोगों का खैर मकदम होता है और बिलखुसूस ये वो आस्थाना है जहाँ से हुजूर गरीब नाज ने तौहीद की सदा बुलंद की। हम मुसलमानों के हामी हैं, मददगार हैं, उनके तरफदार हैं और ये तंजीमें पॉपुलर फ्रंट ऑफ इंडिया एलजीपीआई ये मुसलमानों की आवाज उठाती है और हम सूफियों का काम ये है कि जो गरीब और नादारों की हिमायत करें। अगर हम हिमायत नहीं कर सकते पहले तो हम हिमायत करें, जो लोग हिमायत कर रहे हैं उनका साथ दे, यही असल तसव्वुफ है।
Now, very interestingly, while the sun is spewing venom, on 5th of July, Sarwar Chishti, the same man you just heard, who along with his son has landed in eye of the storm, was actually talking about peace, secularism, harmony, celebrating communal diversity on Shivaru's show just about a few days ago on 5th of July. Listen into what he said then.
Salman, he himself has claimed that he's a history cheater and as well as he's drug addict, and upon that, he's a mentally retarded person and he's a certified lunatic, okay? And whatever speech or hate speech, or I would rather call it's an incitement, it's a war cry. I do admit. But it is given from his home and we totally reject his blabberings और हम इसकी निंदा करते हैं घोर, इसकी मजम्मत करते हैं and we strongly condemn him because of one thing. The shrine of Hazrat Khwaja Muhyiddin Hasan Chishti is epitome of composite culture and pluralistic society.
Yes.
And plus, it's a shrine of practicing secularism. It's a shrine of practicing secularism and Sufism and spiritualism is the epitome of this institution.
Chishti Sahab, if you permit me, sir.
One thing more, please, one thing more.
Yes, complete your point.
We promote Indian diversity.
Yes.
People from every walk of life, from every caste, creed, nationality,
Indeed.
comes and pay homage over here.
So
we have big news coming in now from Bihar. Patna SSP has drawn the PFI RSS parallel now this time. The Patna Senior Superintendent of Police says, I quote him here, PFI is like RSS Shakha. Now the Bharatiya Janata Party is demanding the removal